see the envy me, passing it off like CP3. Shawty, she calling me MVP. I be on time and something you ain't never seen before. They call me the Dama, really want my whole team to score. Damn, yeah, too icy, yeah, too clean, yeah, my zone, yeah, 2-3, yeah, got shooters that hit from deep, bust like Giannis, yeah, too mean. Bright lights like we at the garden, on P, when you started, whole team walk through me to party. If I can't make the play, I'ma lob it. If you jump, that's right on your head. Had to put him to sleep, go to bed. I'm a star, drop 50 and left. From the logo, like I'm Steph. Put it up, knock him down every time. Going hard like my life on the line. Catch me on the course, I would've done. Never lose and I put it on mine. Had to get out my shell, I've been laying low. They get real when it comes to the playoffs. You fight with me, know it's a chaos.
How's everybody doing? My name's Ryan Tamori. Welcome to the Pit Press Live. We're live in Las Vegas. Can I say that anywhere? Live in Las Vegas from Stadium Swim at Circa Hotel and Casino. This is also brought to you by Turquoise Desert Tap Room. It's in another casino about 500 or near another casino about 575 miles away in Rio Rancho, New Mexico. Go say what's up to Armando there. We've done a couple of live shows from there. I love him. So make a bet on the Mets to cover and then go over there and have some food. I am joined by the voice of the Western New Mexico Mustangs and a Lobo fan since 1970, Mr. Ed Nunez. Ed, how you doing?
You know what, Ryan? Doing great. I mean, look where we're at, man. Look at the background. And again, the Pit Press podcast started by you and Eric Moulton certainly has come a long way. Glad to be a part of it and glad to be here. We were able to ride on a flight here with some of the Lobo players and some of the Lobo SID people. So they're looking forward to a great 2 days here.
I'll get to some comments soon, but let me introduce some of the gang or the usual suspects all the way from the Bay Area. The Bay don't play. He's a two-time offensive state lineman for the one, the only San Juan Mendoza and the St. Pius Sartans. And he played under Damian Segura and Wally Slaughter on the B-ball court. But as I always say, his best accomplishment in his life, other than being a husband and a father, is MVP of a 35-year-old Filipino league in the Bay Area, Mr. Richard Thompson. Rick, how you doing?
I'm doing well, guys. I'm fired up. You guys, let me just say this. You guys look great. The backdrop looks great. Fabulous job. I'm glad you got a spot out there. It's looking great, guys. Let me hand it to you.
We appreciate golf clap. Tennis clap. We appreciate that, Rick. Happy to be out here. And then we had to cut away from Stadium Swim. The offspring of Mr. Ed Nunez, but a very, very good play-by-play for ProView and a producer for ProView Network, Mr. Nick Nunez. Nick, how you doing?
Ryan, Dad, Rick, good to be on with you guys. It's an exciting time, Mountain West Media Football Day. Also hope to talk to Coach Brandon Mason and Ryan Berryman about the upcoming TBT tournament. So excited to be on with you guys for sure.
It's going to be a full house, so very happy. I'm going to go to one of the questions, Ronnie Chavez. Is it hot? Yes, it's 117 degrees. And to quote Rob Thomas from the, I forgot what year, but the 1990 smash hit with Santana. Yes, it's hot as hell. And you know what I didn't hit you guys with was the triple hay. Yeah, no, it's hot, man. It is. And you know what the crazy thing is that Albuquerque wasn't that bad today. I went out this morning to throw some trash away, and it was like a brisk, like 69 degrees. See what I did there? No, it's hot, but it's nice. We found out, Ed and I, as we got on the plane, and I don't like to fly, so I'll say that right then and there. I always sit at the back of the plane, and people are like, well, that's the worst place to sit. Well, I'm close to the bathroom, but that's probably too much information. So we get on the plane in Albuquerque, and the pilot comes over to the PA system on the plane and is like, we're going to be delayed 45 minutes. And the last thing in my mind is like, what is wrong with the airplane? They said there was air traffic control issues coming into Las Vegas. And then I overheard the flight attendants say that LAX, Phoenix, and Las Vegas had air traffic control issues. Well, we land, so we're on the plane for another 45 minutes. Thankfully, Southwest didn't treat us like peasants or at the bottom of the Titanic. You were allowed to go to the restroom. They served cold water. They turned on the AC. They turned off the engines. But we took off about 45, 50 minutes later, Ed, and it wasn't that bad. We were here like maybe 30 minutes late, and it wasn't that bad. It was actually a nice flight as I looked at the back of Frank Mercogliano's head.
And he was rows ahead of you, man. So you had some X-ray vision to be able to see that, because I saw Frank get up one time, and again, he's here, and we saw defensive end Gabe Lopez in the elevator along with wide receiver Luke Wysong. So it was good to see them. Looking forward to speaking to them as part of the New Mexico contingent here, along with head coach Bronco Mendenhall. We saw that interview with journal writer Sean Ryder, who I saw right behind me.
I guess he went by way of China because he was
right behind me at the TSA line, and we didn't see him on the flight, but he's here, and we got a chance. So we're looking to get a chance to talk to Coach Mendenhall.
I didn't finish the story though. We landed. You and I went, Nate, and on the TV I saw vice president. We're not getting political, but the vice president of the United States of America was here live. So that was the air traffic control issue. It made complete sense, but we caught up, we made time. I'm happy to be here. I know nobody in Las Vegas, but I consider Las Vegas now my third home between Central New Jersey, Albuquerque, New Mexico, and Las Vegas, Nevada. So very cool. I'm just going to go to some quick comments real quick before Brandon Mason and Ryan Berryman join us to talk about the TBT next week. Then we'll get into a little bit of football. Again, join us on YouTube. Comment. This is your show. This is for Lobo fan. Sorry, I thought these guys were taking a picture of us, but they're taking a selfie. I was like, what? But what was I saying?
We're going to go to
YouTube. Yeah. Dave, chime in. Help us out. We love it. We're here. Again, men's basketball is our bread and butter, but I'm a big football fan. Rick's a big football fan. Ed, the Giants fan sitting next to the Cowboy fan. I give you shit all the time. John Romero, Ryan and Ed, time to step away from your cabana by the pool. You both have a show to do. We're in the cabana.
Yeah.
Keyword in the cabana.
Yeah.
Ronnie, I'm going to address something. I think Ryan was hanging out with the sports animal afternoon gang all day long. I am friends with JJ Buck and Jeff Simieta. I love those two guys. It's the afternoon show that I won't go into. Tommy Gunn, Tommy Gunn, maybe not to be confused with adult film star. I live in Las Vegas and it's 119 degrees. So yes, stay indoors. We appreciate that. I want to thank Aaron Koester of, I believe I said his last name right. I'm sorry, it's Aaron, sports marketing director for Circa Hotel and Casino here, for helping us get set up in the cabana. Very happy to be here. If you've never been here, maybe, yeah, you can see Stadium Swim here. If I ever hit the lottery, Rick and Nick, that rhymes, and Ed, I'm bringing everybody, and we're watching the Super Bowl here, or national championship game here, because it is.
And as a connoisseur of pool parties myself, and meeting my wife at a pool party at the Wynn, I'd say that looks pretty good, Ryan. I visited Wet Republic, Excess, many over the years, and I would say with that big screen there, that's really situated for older men like myself that can't go to those younger places anymore. So I'm liking it a lot.
Yeah, Rick, if you think you're old, man, again, I'd bring this up, man. I mean, heck, I must be ancient, man, and that's okay.
You are. I'll chime in. You are. You are.
Thanks, son. I appreciate that.
Nick, I tell that to my mom all the time. I'm like, you're fucking old. And she's like, you're not that young either. We had so many things going on in that conversation between Rick meeting his wife at the pool party. Where was it again?
Encore Beach Club.
I mentioned place. It was, just to clarify to all our listeners, no, it's not the porn star Tommy Gunn. I know. I thought that was funny.
Actually, wait. Let me make one more comment. Tommy Gunn was also in Rocky V. Tommy Morrison was Tommy Gunn, the guy that fought Rocky Balboa. So there's another reference there to Tommy Gunn for old guys like me to remember that. Well, son, you remember that, right?
Damn it,
Rocky.
I couldn't bring up the clip. I didn't hear no bell. That's how he beat his ass. He didn't hear no bell.
No.
I see Brandon Mason has joined us. We're gonna, I don't know, talk about porn stars and how we met our wives at a Vegas pool party. I have not had the luxury of that, but if you're at Circa, it's quite the view. I'll just say that I'm going to do the Brett Musburger from the 2013 BCS. There's a lot of lovely ladies here, but I don't know, man. If you made a bet, Ed, it's the coolest thing. I don't know. The sports book inside is awesome. I don't know what the vibe would be like here for like a national championship game, for an NBA Finals game, a World Series game. It's got to be, to sound very old, off the chains or off the hook. But I don't know, man. This has got to. And I was talking to somebody, and they're like, "Well, you're in downtown." I'm like, "This is like the renaissance of downtown Vegas." And if I've got that wrong, and if there's a Vegas historian listening, please correct me. But I don't drink anymore, and maybe we're leaving Thursday, but maybe tomorrow evening I can lather some sunblock on, put my swimsuit on when we're done live with Sean Ryder, Jared Chester, and whoever else wants to join us, and head on out here and sit and maybe watch a baseball game. Hopefully there's more baseball on a Wednesday night. Not Ed. I'm going to go to Rick. Well, you know what, Ed, I'll start with you before we get to Brandon Mason, because we're going to talk basketball, because, again, that's our bread and butter, not to repeat myself. But here at Mountain West Conference Football Media Days, what are you hoping to learn about, not just UNM, but the other players?
It's there's a whole list of players here from all teams. So, you brought that Athlon, what's the name of that magazine that you
Athlon
Sports. And I got a chance to read it. So I'm looking forward to, talking to these players. Two players represent each team, and talking and hearing what their expectations or what they think their teams are going to accomplish. You mentioned Boise State. They changed coaches right after they beat UNM last year. There's
that's what
5 new coaches in the conference, I believe, or six new coaches.
7?
Yeah,
I thought 6 or 7.
So anyway, I'm looking forward to talking to the players. We're going to talk to the coaches as well, but there's good representation from each team in the conference. So I'm looking forward to really hearing what they have to say. And it's before the season, so everybody's 0-0. So expectations, the season doesn't start for another month. So, expectations that everybody's going to be very optimistic, I'm sure. So I'm looking forward to hearing that.
I don't know what song's on, but I'm jamming out to it. Rick and Nick, I'll start with Rick and Nick. Rick, what are you hoping that you might gather from us and then other media outlets heading into the 2024 football season?
Yeah, I'm just interested in, like Ed was mentioning, all the turnover of coaches. All of them are going to be preaching their new whatever their new goals are. It'll be interesting to see. And I think for me, I expect Bronco Mendenhall to be probably one of the bigger attention grabbers. I think he's he's very well spoken. He had his own podcast. I listened to him on the radio the other day. He just seems like he has his plans in place, and I'm just interested to see what media from around the conference ask him, because everyone knows the Lobos are going to be voted last, and Mendenhall has even admitted that himself. So it'll just be interesting to see what other kind of detailed questions he gets. And I guess just to see Ashton Genty, sorry if I'm saying that wrong, the Boise State gentleman that's under 21, so he can't come into the casino there, will be out at a different casino. Which one is it? I can't. You guys can fill me in.
He's going to be down, I think, at Big 12 Media Days, and then he's going to be somewhere around here. I have to look at the email again.
Yeah, so just excited to see that. That'll be its own little circus, I'm sure. But Nick, what are you looking for, man?
Oh, I think it's a brand new year for Mountain West football. I mean, the schedule is going to look a lot different. The conference schedule, we're playing Washington State, Oregon State. A lot of Mountain West teams will be facing them. There's going to be an extra bye week in the season this year. So you guys already mentioned all the new head coaches, a lot of new head coaches in the conference. So a lot of unknowns for not just UNM, but for a lot of the teams in the conference. And I think, I just kind of wanted to see what a lot of these players and coaches have to say about things that are unknown.
No, I think the biggest thing for me is, as a New York football Giants fan, and saw two teams win Super Bowls with defensive linemen, I'm excited to talk to defensive linemen because I'm not a big guy, and that's a position maybe I would want to play. My name is Ryan Tamori. I'm joined by Ed Nunez, Nick Nunez, Rick Thompson. This is the Pit Press Live. We're coming to you live from Stadium Swim at Circa Hotel and Casino. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to bring on Brandon Mason and Ryan Berryman to talk TBT and anything else Lobo basketball might under the sun. But we will be right back because we got to pay some bills as you listen to this beautiful music.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
Before that, welcome back to the Pit Press Live. My name is Ryan Tamori, joined by Ed Nunez, Rick Thompson, Nick Nunez. Ed Nunez and I are coming to you live from beautiful Stadium Swim at Circa Hotel and Casino in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. But we're happy to be joined by these guys. And if I get your title wrong, it's because I'm in Las Vegas. Coach Mason, Brandon Mason from ABC. And I made you laugh on our last podcast. So now that you're on, at least under better terms, I hope I can make you laugh. Coach B. Mason, Brandon Mason from ABC Academy. And then, sorry, I got to go to golobos.com, Ryan. I know your first name and your last name because it's easy. for me. Ryan Berryman, Senior Associate AD and Chief Operating Officer for UNM Athletics. We're at a football event, but we asked the basketball guys to come on. So we're happy you guys are joining us. As always, I appreciate it. How are you two guys today? I'll start with Mason.
I'm fantastic, man. Thanks for having us on. Really appreciate it. You guys do a fantastic job, by the way.
We appreciate that. I would have never envisioned that I would say, hey, live from where, I know where we're at, but live from X Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada. Ryan, you have a fantastic name, maybe because we share the same name. And I think you recently got promoted. But Mr. Berryman, how are you doing? How are things? And then I'm going to go quickly before we start talking about TBT. Can the UNM men's basketball team advance this year?
Fully loaded question there. Well, I'm doing good. Probably not as good as you guys. You guys are at the swim up bar or whatever's going on over there, but we're doing good. You guys just came back from break to pay your sponsors. We got to pay our bills too. So shout out to 505. Kurt stepping up sponsoring our TBT team this year, but we're doing good. And I think it'll be a great year for the Lobos.
Brian, I'm going to go right there directly with you. Talk about that sponsorship because those jerseys look clean.
We're excited about those jerseys. Yeah. I think it's a lot of the same players, right? We have some really powerful companies in here that love the Lobos, and 505 is one of them, and everything Kurt's doing to support our student athletes. Abrazo Homes is another sponsor on our uniforms, obviously a sponsor of the show, but Mackenzie, great people, great company. And then, Sobol actually is another sponsor on the uniform. They're a local marketing company here, all UNM grads. Sobol is actually Lobos backwards. But they came up with our original enchantment design 4 years ago now, and we've kind of stuck with it. We like the look.
Ryan, I want to preface something. When I come on the show, it's never personal because I talk a lot of shit about myself and I make fun of myself a lot. And I like you. And I think I came on the show and criticized the yellow jerseys. So I'm going to apologize to you. But I'm a straight shooter, and I want to let you know that I love the enchantment name for TBT. So kudos to both of you. I love it. I even thought Panamaniacs was pretty cool. But I love everything that the enchantment represents for the TBT. And I truly mean that. And I want to not blow so much smoke up your guys' butts. But I love turning on because I'm a big baseball fan, and then there's nothing going on in between the All-Star game and then the start of college football season. I love the TBT. I'm glad you guys got everything together. I'm crashing and burning here, but I love it, and I'm glad that I can watch more UNM basketball because I know those guys and love those guys. I might throw it to Ed here, and then I'll let Rick and Nick chime in. God, I love saying that, Rick and Nick. But all the players with this alumni game, and I understand, it's not been the most pleasant kind of year for UNM basketball and UNM alumni, and I don't want to concentrate on that. But the outpouring of alumni between Tony Snell, I think Anthony Mathis, I think Alex Kirk said he was playing. I'm sorry, I don't like to fly, so I sat at the back of the plane, as I mentioned, and just freaked F out. But talk about all these guys coming together because it's awesome. And Mace, I'll start with you there.
Okay. Yeah. With everything that's been going on, one thing is that Lobo basketball is at an all-time high in the last 10 years or so, and then also the other things that with some of the Lobo greats passing away, these guys really would love to come back and be a part of be in the pit, participate, play, and be with fans, sign autographs, do things in the community. And it was very easy. I sent Tony Snell one text message and he responded right away. I talked to Alex Kirk. He's in town. He was like, no problem, I'll be there. So all these guys, Kendall Williams and so on, and Philip McDonald, Obacha Jet, just, guys that would love to represent and be a part of what's going on, especially with Drew Gordon, Ruben Douglas, and these guys. It's going to be a fantastic 3 days, but a great evening on Tuesday night, July 16th in the pit.
No, we appreciate that. We go live Tuesday, Thursday. We're going to be at the pit on Tuesday. We're going to go live Monday. So whatever we can do to promote it next week, please let us know. But I'm going to throw it to Ed with whatever question he has for either of you guys.
You mentioned all the guys coming together. One of the things, and then you've got Michael Cooper and Kenny Thomas coaching. And, Mace, the last time my son and I had you on, it was when Drew Gordon passed away. And since then, another Lobo great Greg Brown, was killed in a car crash, and some of this game is dedicated to him. You mentioned all the names that are coming together, and Lobo fans love their Lobo basketball, man. You know that. You're one of the only guys I know besides Jimmy Taylor who played for the Lobos and Aggies. You coached and played at New Mexico State and coached here at New Mexico. And I always laugh about that Lobo Aggie line you have to walk, because I tease Will Benjamin, the Las Cruces coach. I hate the Aggies, man. I told Will that the other day again. I always have, but that's just because it was a rivalry back in the day. So talk a little bit about, you mentioned Tony Snell. When I read that in the paper today, and Mace, I think Tony Snell was just a little bit short of getting his pension in the NBA. And that's, that's a shame he didn't get it. But I think the other thing I want to ask you, Mace, Michael Cooper is going to the NBA Hall of Fame. And, everything's been kind of overshadowed because of some of the deaths in Lobo land. The other guy that passed away was George Adams, who used to play years ago. Larry Markland, a friend of mine that played for the Lobos, wanted me to remind of everybody about George Adams. He passed away as well. So Andre McGee passed away. So, mention a little bit about Michael Cooper, if you could, Mace. And, a lot of people didn't think he's going to make the Hall. His numbers aren't great as far as scoring, but talk about his impact on the Lakers championship teams of the 1980s.
Yeah, so I had the luxury of playing for Coop's first championship team in the G League for the Albuquerque Thunderbirds. He's a spectacular coach, a great person, a great mentor for myself. Everything that he's accomplished with winning championships at every level, whether it's women's basketball, men's basketball, professional basketball, he's done it all with coaching and playing. And I look up to him. And when we started to do this event, I just gave him a call, and it was funny how fast he responded. He was like, excuse my language, he was like, hell yeah, I'll be there. I said, it sounds good.
You've heard me. You're good.
Okay. So we would love to have him, and he's going to be high energy. We're going to have dinner on Monday night at Les Combs. We're going to do, after functions all together. And it's going to be a great evening representing these young men that, that are no longer with us, and also sharing a bond with one another. I said that like I was a Lobo, but I just love being a part of it.
Ed, do you have anything else, or can I throw?
No, throw it to Rick and Nick. I want to make sure they get their questions in too.
Rick and Nick, any questions for B. Mace or Berryman?
B. Mace, I'm just wondering, can we expect J.R. Giddens on the court? I know he's getting up there in age, but he's one of my favorite to watch all time. He was a flyer. Is he going to get some minutes this games?
So, JR was one of the first ones on the roster. He's been overseas playing all year, and he's been playing great. He just got a contract actually about 48 hours ago that he's going to be in China and won't be able to make it to play in the game. So, and he's like a backbone that you can always depend on. Like, he reminds me of Terrell Owens at the end of his deal when he was doing sit-ups in the driveway, and you're like, look at Terrell Owens at age 40. Like, JR be able to play basketball for another 10 years just because he's the manimal. So not having him with us on this deal is a little sad, but we on the up and up, having Bryce Alford for the first time, and we've been recruiting him for 4 years. So having him and Scott Bamford in the backcourt together is going to be amazing.
That's a scary backcourt. I love talking to Bryce Alford. He would be so. We had him on for his camp last year. I'd love to see if we can't snag him Monday. Forgive me, I'm asking blindly, but there are two guys that I want to know if they're going to be there, and one is my favorite Lobo to talk to next to Dontrell Moore, and I've mentioned, you've heard me say this a million times, is Daniel Ferris. I had classes with him. I got to know him. He's a great guy. And he always talked about Steve Alford kicking his ass, but he's also one of the funniest, most genuinely nice guys you'll ever meet. Is he on the team, and is Rowe going to be there, Ramon Martinez?
Both will be there playing in the game. Daniel Ferris, it's funny because my last year of professional basketball was his first year of professional basketball. So we both, myself, Daniel Ferris, and Tony Dandridge all lived in Lebanon together. And when you said how funny he is hilarious. So we had some good times together at the end of my tenure, but he will be in attendance. He will be playing. He did get a XX uniform, so he's going to be ready to get up and down the court and play.
Rick and Nick, or Nick, I'll throw it to you.
Yeah, Coach Mason, Ryan, thank you for joining us. Wanted to ask you guys about some of the newer faces on the TBT team this year, or the Enchantment team this year. I think Bryce Alford was quoted saying that if he was going to be on the team, then he was going to bring his 7-footer with him. That's Joey Brunk, who played at Butler, Indiana, and Ohio State. LG Gill, who played at DeKent in Maryland, and Jacob Wiley, who played at Eastern Washington, all kind of making their first appearance on the Enchantment this year. So just kind of wanted to see if you guys could tell us more about them and how they got on the team.
RB, you want to take it or you want me to go? Because I talk a lot.
No, we could tag team it, but I think, yeah, I mean, we trust the guys that are on our team, and they know guys that they play with overseas, and Bryce and Joey have had a long relationship to guys that have Indiana roots. I think Mace could probably check me on this, but I think Joey Brunk was recruited pretty heavily by the Lobos back in the day. And so there's always been a little connection there between Bryce and Joey. And then Jacob and Scotty are really good friends. And so if Scotty says a player is a good player, we're going to take Scotty's word for it.
What are the betting odds for who's going to win the Greg Brown 3-point contest between Bryce Alford, Scott Bamforth, and Anthony Mathis? 3 outstanding shooters. I can't wait to watch it. But if you guys had to bet, who's going to win it?
I hate to say it. I'm taking Chad Toppert at 50.
Forgot about him. He can shoot too.
That's a good pick.
Chad Topper can shoot in his sleep. So, no, I wanted to throw a little wrinkle in there.
Yeah.
That's a good pick.
RB, who you got?
Man, I think I got Bryce on his homecoming here. First time back in Albuquerque.
I'm gonna take Bamford, the leading scorer for the last 2 years, elite shooter. He shoots in his sleep. I got to roll with him.
He's one of my I didn't know, and I don't pay that much attention to high school athletics, so you're gonna have to forgive me. But then learning his story,
yes,
man, he's a baller. Rick would probably attest to that. I feel like he would be a guy he's a Rick's guy to steal from John Gruden. I would put, again, Ro, if you're watching or listening, if you were in the corner, I would take Ramon Martinez. As I said many years ago when I covered the Alford and Loxley years, that Ramon Martinez could run for governor and win with Loxley as the lieutenant governor. Did anybody else have any other questions before I throw a curveball at Ryan Berryman?
Ryan, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. It's good to see you guys.
Ryan, his brother worked for me in the city, and I just haven't talked to Ryan in a while.
You mean Dylan?
Yes.
Gotcha.
And I had to make sure I didn't
So
call
many
him
names.
Dylan, because Dylan worked for me for a while. His brother worked for me for a good time. Ryan, you've advanced up in the Lobo basketball program. You've had several positions that worked there, for several years in the department. Just tell us a little bit about what you've seen, over the years with Lobo basketball. You've been around for a while, and you're in a good position now. You've earned it. Just tell us a little bit about your advancement through the Lobo athletic department.
Yeah, thanks for that, Ed. Yeah, there was a point in time where I was working for an Eddie Nunez and my brother was working for an Ed Nunez. So you can imagine how those stories went.
I remember you saying that. That's funny, man. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, it's been great. I mean, I've been truly blessed. I mean, this is the team I grew up loving. I actually met Mace. I was a ball boy for the Thunderbirds when Cooper was coaching and Mace was playing. And that's kind of how we first got connected. So I've always been drawn to the game of basketball and really afforded me a lot of opportunities. But I started with the laundry and breaking down film with Mace. Mace's first year as a video coordinator, we were chopping up film the old-fashioned way, recording DVDs and breaking down film, and we were in there for hours, man. And that's Mace and I had a lot of good memories in there. So that's how it started. And yeah, I mean, I love this place. I hope I can someday, after putting in the time, maybe be the athletic director here someday, and that's the goal. But I just got to keep chipping away, and I've loved every bit of this journey. And I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly of Lobo basketball. And I don't mean that any particular coach, right? Every season has good, bad, and ugly. But it's truly been a blessing, and it's really changed my life.
That's a very good answer. Ed stole my thunder, because I was going to ask you. I know congratulations on everything that you've done and how you moved up. And I was going to ask you if you were like third in command. So it's Eddie Nunez, Dave Williams, and then Ryan Berryman. I happen to see I think it's his last name, Nate Strong. He was hanging out with Drew Herrick the other day. Nate's a good dude. What's it like? I mean, you probably see him. You guys see him probably all the time. But what's it like working with him? Because he is. I will actually use my PG tone here. He's a hoot. But what is he like? You've known him forever, right? Maybe I might let B-Mace answer this question too. But he's a funny guy, and Drew's a funny guy. So just throwing that curveball to both of you.
Man, Nate's the best. He's the energy guy. We love having him as part of this.
I give you something here. We have a group text for the enchantment. We haven't been able to really communicate. It's been quiet lately. Nate got the whole everybody laughing and joking, and it just I'm like he's hilarious and he's perfect for every scenario. He just fits. I call him the GOAT. That's my dog. I love Nate.
All right. Before I ask this question, because I stole the thunder from Barstool Lobos, and then Pardon My Take, which again we're not affiliated with Pardon My Take, but or Barstool, but I will do that. Nick, Rick, Ed, any final questions before I ask my stupid one?
Yeah, you know what? I've got one for Mace real quick. Mace, with Greg Brown, the former Naismith winner, player of the year in 1994. I think people that didn't see him may not remember how good he was. George Scott, the former Lobo, called him pound for pound the toughest Lobo he ever saw. And I was just kind of hoping you could tell people what you remember of Greg. Because Greg, I'll tell you one thing, man. I know he won a championship with Albuquerque High in 1990. My son, I got to tell this funny story. My son and I, we were playing at Taylor Ranch, and Greg was playing out there. And my son tried to set a pick on Greg, and Greg sent him reeling, man. Grown man ball, put him on his behind, and my son had to learn, right? Had to learn. But Mace, tell us a little bit about what you remember about Greg. This game is dedicated to some of his memory, along with Reuben Douglas and Drew Gordon. And, we mentioned those names. But tell us a little bit about what you remember about Greg Brown.
Well, my first memory of Greg Brown is I moved here in 2005. And that's when I first met Kelvin Scarborough. And they had this thing called the New Mexico Games Open Division. And he said, hey, why don't you come play with some of my guys, some former Lobo guys, whatever. So I show up, and Greg Brown is on the team. It was the first introduction. And so, I'm athletic. I think I'm somebody. I'm a couple years into professional basketball already. And when I tell you off the jump ball, he shot probably the first 10 shots, and they were nowhere near the 3-point line. And he was probably like 9 for 10. I realized that it wasn't my team. I was just a part of it. So that let me know right there who he was as a basketball player, and who you could just tell that he was a legend. And I got a chance to build a relationship with his kids, Amaya Brown, who's also playing in the alumni game for the Lobo All-Star team on Tony Snell's team, and also recruited Amari Brown. I sent him his first letter from college when I was coaching for the Lobos, and I have a lot of love for that family.
Nick, I'm throwing it to you.
Yeah, Coach Mason, Ryan wanted to ask you guys about the success that the Enchantment has had in the TBT first year, 2021. I think it was an opening round loss. 2022, you win the opening round game, then lose in the second round. And then last year down in Lubbock, you guys win 2 games and then lose in the round of 16. So how do you think this year's roster shakes out in the TBT tournament?
RB, you got it.
No, you got it.
Want me to take it?
Yeah, take it.
One thing, I think that we have a lot of experience and knowledge now. This is Kenny Thomas and Craig Snow had multiple years of coaching in the TBT. Scott Banford, Anthony Mathis, all these guys were bringing a lot of experience and the knowledge of the Elam ending. And if you look at the last 2 years, the team, we lost to Heartfire, who won the championship last year. 2 years ago, and then last year we lost to the North Texas team, who lost in the championship, who came in second. So you can tell that we're headed in that right direction by making it to the Sweet 16. We also always felt we needed another dynamic guard to go with Scott Banford to kind of get over that hump, because we've been doing a good job, but we just needed a little more firepower. So we kind of addressed what we thought we needed, and we're ready to make that push to win it all this year.
Talk about your opening round matchup, Coach. You guys got Once a Bronco, one of the players that was featured in the Albuquerque Journal story written by Jeff Grammer. Max Rice, who's had some good games against the Lobos. A lot of familiar faces on that team from Boise State, the Boise State alumni team. Kind of preview that matchup for us and how you think the Enchantment matches up.
Yeah, it'll be
RB?
interesting. I think, yeah, you look at that roster for once a Bronco, it's a talented roster. I think they got some big guards, right? You look at Justinian Jessup and Derek Alston, some Boise State guards of the past that are 6'7", 6'8", 6'9". That's not what we have, right? We got smaller guards. We're going to shoot a lot of threes and try to get up and down. So it'll be an interesting matchup for sure. But the Mountain West twist will be interesting. It'll make it a little more fun.
What about your bracket, Coach Mason? You mentioned you got Bleed Green in there. They're the 1 seed in your bracket. Austin's own, I think, is in the bracket if you guys advance. And if they win, you guys may meet up with them again. You guys played them last year in Lubbock. So talk about how you think you guys match up in the bracket.
I think we fare well, but one thing I don't want to do is discuss anything past the first game. Like, I'm sorry. I'm not jinxing. I don't want to say I said this or said that. I want to lock in on this Boise State thing that we're doing with the Broncos, and I don't want to look past it or talk past it. That's just I really feel like we can win this year, and I feel like the coaches feel that way, the players feel that way. It's like, I hate to say business trip in July, but I think the guys feel it as well.
Last question I have for you guys is just some event or details about the event itself. You know, it's pretty public, it's out there, but when is the first game? What is the time? How can people watch it?
Yeah, so it all starts Tuesday night. We're going to have an exhibition game, obviously, in the pit. Our guys, the TBT Enchantment guys, will play against the Lobo alumni team that Mace was talking about. So that's kind of to get us going on Tuesday night in the pit. That'll start at 5. Mace has some youth games organized for that as well. And then we take off to Houston on Thursday and play on Friday. And I think this year the TBT games are on the Fox family of networks. So Fox Online or Fox Sports 1 as we get to the later rounds.
Wow, I totally butchered that because I think I mentioned ESPN earlier, but that's how I learned about the tournament. So my bad on that. I'm just going to ask you guys one final question because, like I said, Barstool Lobos tweeted it out. Berryman, I might start with you first, and I know it's cliche, but we had kind of gotten that ball rolling with this topic. Your UNM basketball, men's basketball, Mount Rushmore.
Wow, that is a fully loaded question.
Good, because I'm going to B-Mace after it.
I got to piece it apart, right, to the time that I've been with the team, because I know there's a lot of Lobo greats that I didn't have the privilege of watching. But the time that I've been with the team, I've seen some amazing players, right? One of the hardest working players I've ever seen is Cam Bairstow. I've never seen anybody work as hard as Cam did. He's got to be up there. I think Darius Gary is one of the toughest players I've ever seen. The way he played and could command the floor, he's got to be up there. Just the relevancy bias, I think Jalen House and what he did to bring the team back from where we've been the last decade or so. I think the way he put his team on his back in Vegas that week is just truly incredible and will live in Lobo history for a long time. Man, there's a lot of good players. Tony Snell's on there, Hugh Greenwood, Drew Gordon, Alex Kirk, all those guys. Kendall Williams. There's a lot of faces on that Mount Rushmore. B. Mace is probably on there too.
Was a Lobo or Aggie? What's he on board? You know, yeah. Mace wears two shirts there, man.
That was a harder zinger than I've had with him on.
That was funny.
B-Mace, I'll throw it to you on that one.
I'm gonna say Mel Daniels, Michael Cooper, Danny Granger, Kenny Thomas, Tony Snell. That
was a good 5.
I think that's the
all right.
That's the top. But then you have Charles Smith, Darrington Hobson, Cam Bairstow, J.R. Giddens. Like you have like that next tier that would be elite in any other university as well. So the University of New Mexico is definitely special.
I don't think either of you said Kenny Thomas, so I hope he's not watching.
I did say
Mace said Kenny.
I said Kenny.
Kenny's a little before my time.
I haven't had a sip of alcohol. I guess I'm just stupid. Hey, Brian Berryman, he is I want to make sure I get it right, Senior Associate Athletic Director at the University of New Mexico, Chief Operating Officer. All jokes aside, I really appreciate your guys' time. Eric's on here, he's producing, Rick, Ed, Nick, we all appreciate your time. And B-Mace, what you're doing over at ABC Academy and the Enchantment, we really appreciate it. We hope whatever we can do for you guys Monday night, please, we'll get with you over the weekend. Again, we're here to talk football, and we are happy to have you guys come on and talk basketball. Appreciate what you guys are doing. Thank you for your time. Thank you for putting up with my stupidity. I know Ed really appreciates it. I know Ed always mentions how B Mace is his guy. So we really appreciate your guys. Best of luck next week. We can't wait to talk to you next week. Can't wait to be there. I know Eric was like, hey, somebody was like, hey, can we get credentialed? I was just like, let's just talk to Brandon Mason because we'd love to get some photos next week. And again, I know it's a broken record, whatever we can do. Thank you guys for joining us both tonight, Ryan Berryman and Brandon Mason.
Thank you very much.
Thanks
for
guys.
having us.
Appreciate it.
We're gonna cut as I jokingly always say, gonna cut to commercial, see what I can see if I can find it. We're gonna come back and talk a little bit of Mountain West Conference football. We appreciate those guys.
I dropped the top on the 6th Street. Fly in my ops, didn't envy me. Passing it off like CP3. Shawty, she calling me MVP. I be on time and something you ain't never seen before. They call me the Dama. Really want my whole team to score. Damn, yeah, too icy. Yeah, too clean. Yeah, my zone. Yeah, 2-3. Yeah, got shooters that hit from deep. Bust like Giannis. Yeah, too mean. Bright lights like we at the garden. On P, don't get me started. Whole team walk in, we the party. If I can't make the play, I'ma lob it. If you jump, that's right on your head. Had to put him to sleep, go to bed. I'm a star, drop 50 and left. From the logo, like I'm Steph. Put it up, knock him down every time. Going hard like my life on the line. Catch me on the course, I would've down. Never losing, I put it on mine. Had to get out my shell, I've been laying low. It get real when it comes to the playoffs. You fight with me, know it's a KO.
Welcome back to the Pit Press Live. My name is Ryan Tamori, joined by Ed Nunez, Nick Nunez, Rick Thompson are joining us. Really appreciate Brandon Mason and Ryan Berryman talking the TBT. Ed, what do you take away from that?
You know, every year that Coach Mason or B Mace talks about it, you know, the articles in the paper, when you get a Tony Snell, and he said that, you get a Tony Snell that says yes right away, Alex Kirk. I think he's done a great job, him and Dylan Berryman, of putting this roster together. So you can tell the enthusiasm.
Ryan Berryman.
Oh, yeah, Dylan. There it was. I knew I was going to do that. So Ryan Berryman, they've done a great job of putting this roster together. And what did Mace call it? A road trip in July. They want to win.
Business trip.
A business trip. He wants to win. There's no doubt about it. And but I think the ambiance around, you got Michael Cooper coaching one team, Kenny Thomas coaching the other. But I got to mention this. You asked Ryan Berryman about his Mount Rushmore. And my son and I always talk about this. My son always says this, Dad, you're going to go with players you saw. I'm going to go with players that I saw. And that's what Dylan Berryman did. He mentioned players he saw. He didn't see Daniels or Harge or Luke Longley or Kenny or Granger or Phil Smith or Greg Brown or Scarborough. So my son and I talk about that all the time. So I thought Ryan Berryman had a pretty good Mount Rushmore list. So did B Mace.
Nick threw in some good questions, but I'm going to go to Rick.
Yeah, I just think it's great that they're honoring the three guys that passed. And I never really got to say my part about Greg Brown, so I'll just give it real quick here. I played a lot of basketball at River Point growing up, and Greg Brown would come in and play on Sundays, and I didn't know at the time that he was even this great Lobo. I'm just out there playing, and he's just killing everyone. He's killing some of the best high school players at the time, Josh Jenkins, Roman, he's keeping up with them. And B Mace wasn't exaggerating when he said that guy had range. He's pulling up and you couldn't believe it. And similar story to Ed, my dad is down there playing pickup in a game, and he decided to set a screen on Greg Brown, and that's the wrong decision to make, as he plowed my 50-year-old father at the time over and had no remorse whatsoever.
Girl.
So I was lucky enough, to get to see him up close, and then, see the film of him on the Lobos. Just a special athlete. Sounds like a fantastic man. And, I know he coached at Manal and other places as well. I had a friend that played at Manal, and he would just tell stories about Coach Brown and, the workouts he would give those guys. So it's just great that, they're doing this alumni game. I don't think they've had anything like this in some time, or, obviously nothing with the TBT related playing old players, but this is great for the community and really just a celebration of Lobo basketball. It's just too bad it's kind of at the expense of 3 of our guys, but I'm looking forward to seeing what it has to bring and jealous of you guys that get to go.
And I'm sorry, Rick, I kind of just opened it up and it was a dumb question because I just threw it to you, but I wanted to know, I like that answer, but when you see all those Lobos come together for that alumni game, I mean, you've played pickup. I know you mentioned it, you played pickup games around the city, and you played a lot at River Point, but those were, I don't know.
Yeah, this is like an elite pickup game, right? This is some of the best Lobos and some of the best New Mexico players of all time coming to honor their guys. And, I don't think in the past they've all united in a way and played in a game like this. So it's really cool that they're all willing to do this. I'm looking forward to see, Alex Kirk out there. I know he's still playing professionally, I believe. And, it's too bad Giddens won't be there, but congrats to him on getting another contract at his age. And B Mace is right. He'll be playing many more years professionally. So it's just cool to see how there's so many guys that have had success and they're all willing to come back for something like this. And hopefully it'll, really give a happy ending for some of these guys as we send them off.
Nick, you played basketball. I didn't. And as I always mention and make the joke, I love watching the game. I love losing money on college basketball as I sit here at Stadium Swim. But you see all, and you ask some great questions. You see all that talent on the floor. I mean, what can you take away from that?
No, as a Lobo basketball fan, I mean, it's spectacular. I expect to see a packed pit next Tuesday because, as my dad mentioned, there's Lobos from kind of every generation. I mean, in the late 70s, early 80s, obviously I wasn't around at that time, but Michael Cooper was the guy. And then you got a lot of guys from the 2000s, 2010s coming to play. There's just so much talent on the floor. And, with any all-star game like this, they're going to play hard. You don't want to get anybody hurt. It's more for entertainment and bringing community together. But as a Lobo basketball fan, seeing all of these guys on the floor at the same time, I couldn't be more excited. Want to get there early, want to get a good seat, want to support the community and everything that's going on. So it's going to be fantastic. I can't wait.
One of the things that we didn't talk about, and we're still talking basketball, is Jalen House getting a shot with the Celtics. I don't think we mentioned it last week. We didn't go live Thursday because of the 4th of July. We went live Wednesday night. I mean, it's another Lobo. And you look at that team, I think Baylor Shireman from Creighton, who's a phenomenal player. He's on that team. They're stacked. Ed, we talk about, I think about J.R. Giddens, and Rick, this might throw to you. Just how cool it is for him to be on that summer league team with probably Brad Stevens watching, Joe Mazzulla watching. These guys just went on. Give me Iguodala. Just with the opportunity for the run that this organization went on during this last NBA playoffs. Ed, I'll throw it to you first, and then I'll get to Nick and Rick. It sounds like Elf on a Shelf or something like that. But it's really, I don't know. It's really cool that I think Jalen House is on this team. I know he has a history with his dad and Edward House or Eddie House. But I think it's cool he's on the Celtics team.
You know what? I do. I think it's an opportunity. You mentioned Mazzulla and Brad Stevens' eyes are on a summer league roster. So it's his chance to prove that he belongs at the NBA level, or even maybe a G League team. It's an opportunity. I don't think there's any other way you could say it's a great thing. So I'm looking forward to, I think they play Saturday night. And you mentioned the Eddie House being a part of that 2009 championship or 2008 championship team that beat the Lakers. And I mean, annihilated them. That hurt my son and I. They annihilated them in Game 6 in Boston. So there's some history there with the House, with his dad. So, I'm hoping that he gets a good look, and I'm going to watch. I'm going to watch him. I want to make sure, he's getting his chance. Hopefully he does get his chance and he shines. He plays some good defense. You mentioned Jose Alvarado is a player of his size, and maybe he can. He was a great defensive player here at UNM. I think he's done well in the games that, they played in that All-Star game. He was the MVP of that All-Star game at the Final Four. So I think he's made the most of his opportunity so far. So looking forward to seeing what he might do in a Summer League uniform for Boston.
It's my favorite nickname, Grand Theft Alvarado. Rick, your thoughts on Jalen House being with the Celtics in the Summer League?
Yeah, like you mentioned, super cool to be joining a team that just came off a championship and the most titles now ever. And just to be around that kind of management and coaching. He's going to wear number 41, which will look different. And he'll be facing off, though, against an old foe and Isaiah Stevens, who will be suiting up for Miami on Saturday. I think the good thing for Jalen, he's going to be playing in a familiar place where he's had much success in the Thomas and Mack Center there in Vegas. So he's going to be comfortable. Like Ed mentioned, he played pretty good in those draft league camps and in that college all-star game. So I expect him to do well. And I think when you're watching Summer League, one thing that people will always look for is the highest scoring players in these games as the guys that are going to get signed. And sometimes that's not really the case. Sometimes the guy that's only getting 6 or 5 points in limited minutes are the guys that actually end up making the team and earning a contract. So don't get too blown away by all the numbers coming out of the G League. I would look more about the impact that House has on the game. Defensively, he'll probably cause some turnovers and push the ball at a high speed and hopefully knock down some shots. So super exciting for him and for Lobo basketball. Hopefully have another professional player soon.
What's funny is we have 3 Laker fans on the show and I, the Knicks fan, and we just constantly talk about the Celtics. But Nick, we're all Lobo fans here. I'm objective, but a majority of us are Lobo fans here. And we're talking to a lot of Lobo fans, but it's still got to be cool to see where Lobo's in the NBA.
No, definitely. And one thing about Jalen House, he's always going to play hard. Every time he strapped on a UNM jersey while he was here for his 3 years, he played hard. It's different going into the NBA Summer League. He's not going to be a leader on the team. He may form into that role. Maybe starting out he won't be. It'll be a different role for him. But you can always count on him to bring energy and effort when he plays basketball. I expect to see that from him, applying pressure on the ball, diving for loose balls, getting points in transition, being a pest defensively. That's his MO. I think he's got a skill set that could potentially translate to the NBA. Ryan, you mentioned it, Grand Theft Alvarado. My dad mentioned Jose Alvarado. A lot of people have compared him to his game. Another guy who's kind of carved a niche in the NBA, Gary Payton Jr., Gary Payton II, undersized guy, plays defense, plays 15 to 18 minutes a game. I think Jalen House could form into a defensive specialist on the ball. He's not a guy that's going to dominate in the NBA. He doesn't have the size for it. But I think he could find his way onto an NBA roster. And I'm excited to watch him play in the Summer League.
I think, I'm interested to see what he does. You said Saturday night, Rick, and then Isaiah Stevens. That's the Colorado State guard. That's phenomenal.
And then Uncle Mo is going to be
with the Rockets, right?
Suiting up for the Rockets, and he actually had Maurice Udeze, former Lobo, had a very good first professional season in Poland, and he'll be suiting up for his hometown team, I believe, the Houston Rockets. So that will be exciting to watch too.
I think out of everything, and I know I'm switching gears, I'm incredibly happy. Thanks for asking. Anybody get the South Park reference out there? But I think Bryce Alford on this TBT team, man, I think that can excel them to new heights. I don't think they just won 2 games last year. I think they won 3, and they got to they lost to that North Texas team that played very well. One, I think it's very cool that Bryce Alford's on the team. Number 2, do you think that Albuquerque would rally and have a parade if they won the TBT? And I'll start maybe with you there, Nick.
Maybe. I think the Enchantment gets some really good fan support. We were at the event last year, Ryan. You probably remember you, Eric, my dad. It was at Bosque Prep. That was a pretty full gym last year when they played the Rec League All-Stars. It was a competitive game. A lot of familiar faces.
Don't hit on my guy Daniel Ferris on that. He was on the Rec League All-Stars.
Hey, Daniel Ferris was a heck of a player when he played at UNM. He won a state championship at El Dorado in 2005. So definitely no hate towards Daniel Ferris from me. I don't know if Albuquerque would band together and throw a parade. If they did, I would attend. I think that would be awesome. And we heard Brandon Mason come on. They think they have the roster to take the next step this year. So we'll have to see.
That was one of the things your dad and I were talking about, Ed and I were talking about at lunch today was, and we've mentioned it, I think the town would burn to the ground. It would turn into Vancouver after they lost Game 7 of the 2011 Stanley Cup Final, that if the Lobos actually ever got to the Final Four or a national runner-up, I don't know what that thing would be hanging in the pit. But Rick, I would like your comments on even if the team won.
Maybe a mini parade. I mean, it's cool that they've included other players from, around the state that weren't just on the Lobos, so everyone in the state can kind of celebrate. I don't think a parade is warranted, but there'll be a lot of happiness, and maybe they'll donate some of that money back to the city or state. But I doubt it.
That'd be fantastic. Ed, what do you think?
There's, I think Rick and Nick, or there'll be a celebration, maybe something at the pit. But I think even hitting further on why a lot of these players want to come back to the pit and play, because they remember what it was like when they were here. It was that building we've mentioned. It's magical. It really was for a lot of these players that played here. Now you're not going to have 15 or 17,000 out, a sellout. You're not going to have that, but they remember what it was like. Even Scott Banforth, who's not a Lobo, a couple of years ago, remember the performance he turned in playing at the pit. So I think that's what draws everybody back, the memories that they have there. But if they won the team, and let's remember, the TBT is a tough tournament. Yeah, that's a very tough tournament. So a parade, no, but a celebration maybe at the pit, yes, I could see that. And again, that's a tough tournament to win. It really is. So we'll see.
I didn't ask you guys about Bryce Alford, I did ask you about Bryce Alford, but I think that's a phenomenal addition. I don't know. Is there anything else basketball we can cover whoever wants to join, before we come back and talk a little bit football? And I'm trying not to have the same repetitive conversation we have had about football in regards to the University of New Mexico. Again, anybody willing to chime in, you can hit up the comments on X, the artist formerly known as Twitter, YouTube. My name's Ryan Tamori. We're coming to you live from Circa Hotel and Casino from their stadium swim area. It was brought to you by Turquoise Desert Tap Room off 528 there near another hotel and casino, the Santa Ana Star Casino in Bernalillo and Rio Rancho. Ed, we were talking about it, and I'll let you guys chime in, Nick and Rick. Bronco went on Jeff Symbieta and JJ Buck's show, The Opening Drive, yesterday morning. He was saddling up his horses in Montana, to steal the line from Big and Rich song, Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy. But, I think one of the things that we've noticed, and Ed, you and I have chimed in about it, and I'll throw it to Rick because, he played offensive lineman. He knows the game, the X's and O's more than probably the three of us here. But every answer he has, it seems very, very calculated. And I always mention you as a show, your accolades your accomplishments when I introduce you on the show is you've been a Lobo fan since 1970. We're going to learn a little bit more about Gabe Lucero, and Luke Wysong tomorrow, and other players around the conference. Torrey Horton is NFL talent. He's a wide receiver for Colorado State. Ricky White III is NFL wide receiver caliber here in his home and in his where he plays college football at UNLV in Las Vegas. But Ed, we've talked about that, how he's just very calculated in everything he said. And you've talked to a couple of parents that have players on the team, but for anonymity's sake, just what you heard yesterday, and we all re-listened to the podcast he had with Albuquerque Journal reporter Sean Ryder from about a month ago. It's just what we've learned about him. Everything's just calculated. So what have you taken away? And I'm going to throw it to Rick and Nick after that.
Precise, flatline emotion, very calculated in what he talks about. But Ned James, the sideline reporter for the Lobos on KKOB,
Former quarterback,
told me, hey, man, he said this is exactly what he said. Hey, homeboy, you better have some good questions for Bronco because he's sharp. And he is. He's very sharp. Let's remember, again, I know we said this before. He hasn't coached a game here at UNM. I get it. I understand that. He's had success wherever he's been. There has been the Mendenhall effect in year 2 at BYU and year 2 at Virginia. He's 7-7 in bowl games. Journal writer Sean Ryder has mentioned the attention to detail. So and one of the parents, I'm not going to say any names, but did say he's a very he thinks, he says, this is what he said. I'm not, again, no names. He said the over-under was 1.5 wins.
Game and a half. I'm going to get you to change that while we're in Vegas. Game and a half.
He said bet the house that they'll win more than that. He's very impressed with Coach Mendenhall. He thinks that everybody is downplaying New Mexico, and understandably so. This program we mentioned is 21-60 since Bob Davies' last winning season. 21-60. That's not very good. And we saw that in the magazine, Athlon magazine, that said there's no reason. Athlon that said there's no reason. An opposing scout sizing up New Mexico said there's no reason they should be this bad for this long. So I mentioned this. I don't want to be repetitive, but I will be in this case. I think it's the most important hire since Steve Alford came here to coach men's basketball. I really do. So I think, again, we're going to find out more. But that was my take. He's very calculated about what he says. Look at his football resume. It speaks for itself. I'm anxious to see what kind of changes on the field we'll see once the season starts.
When I was listening to Jeff and JJ ask questions, and hopefully we can get Jeff on tomorrow. JJ said he couldn't make the trip. Again, those are my guys. JJ's my guy. I love him. I've known him forever in the media business since we go back to when we started. I can think, and I'll use this as an example. I think of Rick. I think of our friend Stephen Pena. He always jokes, it's, F State. I only care about one thing. Beat Isaac Avalusea, my buddy. Maybe he'll win and he'll go to UCLA. Very, very good. Certain people have asked me, and the same thing what Jeff was talking about. Well, how do you think the football team's going to be? I don't know. I'm not optimistic. I know what Bronco Mendenhall brings to the table, but Kurt Roth came on and kind of changed my opinion for a week. 505 Sports Venture Foundation president, owner of the NIL Guy Collective. I love Kurt. I love his optimism, and look what he's done in this Lobo men's basketball renaissance. But I don't know how to answer this question. 2 games is not a lot to win. Mike Loxley's team was a blind squirrel and found a nut. I don't know. I look at that schedule, and the first 4 or 5 games are brutal, and anything can happen in a rivalry game, aside from trying to sound cliche. Montana State, in a lot of preseason polls, and I'll have to look it up with the Big Sky Conference because that could be happening this week or next week. I'm not exactly a Big Sky football connoisseur. I do know the Montanas of the world, the North Dakota. I think there may be Summit League. But Montana State, Bobby Hawk, he went to UNLV when I was at the paper. He led Montana to several FCS, I think, championship games and won a couple. They were a juggernaut. What I've read, Lindy's, Athlon, Montana State is picked to win the Big Sky. This is not a cakewalk game 1. Things could go their way. Look what Danny's team did last year, beating Fresno State. I think we come on here, and I try not to be hot take. I just try to say what, my knowledge growing up in Albuquerque and everything that I've learned. I don't know. It's one of those things where I jokingly will say, I am from Missouri. I am from the show me state. You will have to show me. Bronco has to show me something. And as I've said a million times, he's won at BYU. He's won at Virginia. He has not coached a game at UNM. He has not won at UNM. He has not lost at UNM. Rick, I'm not trying to put you on the spot. We kind of share, I think, the same opinion. And I'm trying to find something new as we sit here on the eve of Mountain West Conference football media days. How hard maybe it is to, and this is something we might ask him, do you keep fans in the stands by keeping New Mexico players like Rocky did? And I want to throw that to you, maybe if you can elaborate on that.
Yeah, so one thing he did say on Jeff and JJ's show the other day in terms of fan attendance, he's not trying to, go out there and win people over right now. He understands that there's going to be some early goers that come in, and there's also going to be people that take some time, maybe a season or two, to buy into the program, and he's welcoming them all. So he, like Ed has said, he is super prepared. And one thing he keeps mentioning in his interviews so far is he likes challenges, right? And I don't think he's ever faced a challenge like the one he's about to face here in UNM. If you look at what they've done, it's been at the bottom in all of the Mountain West for the last decade. And while he might be prepared, he's still, like he said on the radio the other day, he's dealing with a lot of unknowns himself. And my biggest question, and I don't know if you can straight up ask him this, is why did you really choose UNM? There had to be other suitors out there. Was it because that was the greatest challenge? Like, was it like when I went up and approached my wife at that swim club years ago? Now people are like, he's with her? That's what I kind of think. Like, he's with UNM? Like, he's with her? That's the feeling I get. And they can't afford to squander this opportunity. And I don't think he's going to allow it. If you look at what he's done, hopefully, he will be able to do something different. But this is a task that no one has succeeded at in a long time. And Ryan, I don't know if you want to go on to the in-state players, but I think just being able to keep the guys like that Ed and Nick are interviewing on their shows that are going to other schools like Arizona or a Wisconsin, we need to keep those guys in state, and that will draw some fans and also some talent. Those guys are damn good players, and I would love to see guys of that caliber, staying around like they once did.
I agree with that. And Nick, I'll throw it your way. Everybody is here on this show, and that includes Eric behind the scenes, is a UNM alumni. I'm going to go to this. Jimmy H. You're talking a lot of shit tonight, but guess what? So do I. Rudy, UNM won 16 games in 2 years under Bob Davie. What are we talking about? 21-60, I think.
Since the last winning season. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Since the last winning season. Okay. Yeah.
I know there's a lot of negativity that we talk about. I was going to go to this comment from Jimmy H. Stick a piano in front of Ryan and he could do a Ray Charles impression. I got a woman. Rick, I know you got to get out of here. I don't know. It's I think that benefited it. And to say something positive, Rudy, again, 20 years ago when me and my friends lived and died in high school by UNM football, I loved that mentality of the Rocky Long teams punching people in the face.
Yeah.
I loved it. They might not have won, and they did win a lot of games, and they punched people in the faces. And that's what did I mention? I'm sorry. Mike Tyson, everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the face. And those were Rocky's teams. I loved that. I think, and you don't know, it's the unseen. And Rudy, you were there. And I think a lot of people were discouraged by Mike Loxley, but that was what do they call it? A planny killer. This is why I am having trouble with this conversation. Bronco will succeed beyond anyone's expectation, except for diehards, I guess. If you have a crystal ball, please present it.
Hey,
if you have seen it,
I want to respond. I want to respond to that. I don't think there's anyone here. Look, I understand Rudy Chavez is has been a fan and is a very big supporter of the program. Yeah, I get that. I don't think, I don't think anyone that Rick, my son, you, Eric, the program is what it is. Okay. And look, does that mean I don't want them to succeed? Of course it doesn't mean that. Does that mean that we can't take an objective look at what it's been? That doesn't mean that either. It doesn't mean that we're not fans. Now, you've made it clear that, you're down the line. I try to be down. I'm an unabashed Lobo fan since 1970. No one can question my fandom. And if I tell you that the program hasn't been good, in my estimation, you know what? Chris Berman used to say this. Look inside the numbers. That's all you got to do. Do we want them to be better? Do we want Bronco to succeed? Of course we do. You just mentioned this is not an Ouija board, or is it? We don't have an Ouija board,
a Ouija
board, or
Nick, I'm looking at you.
This isn't a crystal ball here. So if I can tell you that he's going to win, of course we want them to do that. Of course. But is that going to happen? We don't know. So, I just got to push back a little bit on that. All due respect to whoever's been a fan. I'm a fan too. Can't question my fandom. If we're saying that the program hasn't been good, it hasn't. Do we want it to get better? Yes, we do. We hope it does.
Here's the funny thing, and this is a selfish comment. We are business owners. I am a business owner in this. Rick, they're playing Pony by Genuine. Now I'm in Vegas. Or it's a remix. But as a business owner that covers the University of New Mexico, that predominantly we talk about our bread and butter, I've said that a lot tonight, is UNM athletics. It helps us. It benefits us getting more listenership, maybe attracting more listenership to those around the conference, to somebody who worked in New York City, to the UNM alumni chapter of New York City. It helps out. I want to see it. How I feel is in any aspect of life, even in something as minuscule as football, and there's a lot of money in college athletics, is just being so one-sided on it. And I understand saying something and bringing it into belief. I hate flying. I got on the plane and did it today. Rudy, that's not my job. UNM doesn't pay me, and I don't donate to UNM. And I know I've spoken to you, and I enjoy it, but I think Rick's got to go. Rick, have a good one. That's not my job. Objectively, with journalism and what we're trying to do. You can tell people to do that, and that's fine. We've had Kurt Roth on here. That's the voice. You probably know Kurt very well. I don't contribute because there's objectivity there. Eric does contribute. I don't know if we can say that or not, but I will. I know Eric contributes. I don't think you donate to 505 Sports Venture. Do you, Ed?
I don't.
Don't?
Not right now, but you know what? There might be a time I do. But again, let me just say this again. That's not saying how my fandom
see, here we go.
Measured.
This is bumming me out.
Good night. This is a frank conversation that has to be had. Somebody might think one way. I think my way. You think your way. Yeah. My son thinks his way. Rick thinks his way. Eric thinks his way. Jacob Neff thinks his way. That's the way it is. And, all due respect to Rudy and, Ronnie and Jimmy and John Romero. Yeah, all due respect to everybody who's watching. I don't know if you want to ask my son what he thinks. And we got off on a little tangent there.
Here he is, Ed. I am more objective than you pretend to be.
Okay. You know what?
All right.
Okay. I mean, says who? Objection, Your Honor. That's what I said. So yeah, go ahead. I want to ask my son what he thinks.
No, I mean, I'm just excited for Lobo football, guys. I mean, I'm optimistic. You guys have already touched on it. Last couple years under Coach Gonzalez. I mean, they were right there. They were right there last year. A couple games could have went a different way. They would have been in a bowl game, and we probably would be having a different conversation than we're having right now. Everybody on this show is a Lobo football supporter. We want to see Lobo football succeed. You said that, Dad. We want people to buy season tickets. We want to get the stadium full. You guys remember the glory days. Ryan, you talked about it, the early 2000s under Coach Long. I remember, when I was a kid, I was probably 6th or 7th grade. Dad, we were there together. Lobos were playing Texas Tech. I think UNM won on a last-second field goal.
They did. Yeah. They did.
So those are some of the best memories I have of Lobo football, and we want to see Coach Mendenhall take Lobo football back to that. It's got to start from ground zero. Ryan, you started this conversation out with, Coach Mendenhall. He's been around a while. He's been the head coach at BYU. He's been the head coach at Virginia. He's had success everywhere he's been. He knows how to answer questions. This isn't his first rodeo as far as being interviewed. You guys are going to talk to him tomorrow. I think for him, he doesn't want to set expectations too high. During spring camp, there were restrictions on when the media could go to the game or go to practices, and can't bring your phones out during the spring game. And, you can say what you want about that. I think he doesn't want people to get their expectations too high. I don't know if my expectations are real high for next season. I just want to see him go out there, compete, improve under Coach Mendenhall every year, and hopefully getting back into bowl games and competing for conference championships. That's what we want to see Lobo football do.
Last comment on Rudy. John Romero's an Aggie, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, he's up. You know what? He loves them both.
Yeah. We talked hockey last week, so I guess we don't know our audience. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back. My name is Ryan Tamori. This is the Pit Press Live. We're coming to you from Stadium Swim at Circa Hotel and Casino in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. Nick, if you got to jump off, hey, thanks for joining us.
Guys, no problem. You guys have a good night. Go Lobos.
Yes,
son, I'll love you. Talk to you later.
All right.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
See the envy me, passing it off like CP3. Shawty, she calling me MVP. I be on time and something you ain't never seen before. They call me the Dama, really want my whole team to score. Damn, yeah, too icy, yeah, too clean, yeah, my zone, yeah, 2-3, yeah, got shooters that hit from deep, bust like Giannis, yeah, too mean. Bright lights like we at the garden on P. When you started, whole team walk through me to party. If I can't make the play, I'ma lob it. If you jump, that's right on your head. Had to put him to sleep, go to bed. I'm a star, drop 50 and left. From the logo, like I'm Steph. Put it up, knock him down every time. Going hard like my life on the line. Catch me on the course, I would've down. Never losing, I put it on mine. Had to get on my shit, I've been laying low. It get real when it comes to the playoffs. You fight with me, no one's a KO.
Welcome back to the Pit Press Live. We're coming to you from, that's quite a number. Welcome back to the Pit Press Podcast. We're coming to you live from Stadium Swim at Circa Hotel and Casino in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. Ed, that's, oh, okay, sorry. We got into a little bit of a heated, and again, we created the show for Lobo fan. It's good content. Agree to disagree. I believe that's how I feel. But we will find out, I think, a lot, asking players, who their favorite rapper is here tomorrow. But then the coaches on Thursday. I think that it's a very, I don't want to use the word interesting, but unknown time for not only Lobo athletics, but for college football as a whole because of NIL. and the curiosity if UNM would be left if the football program doesn't advance or get better. We all know what the men's basketball team could do. I think they can get to the tournament again. Ed, what are you looking forward to?
Or
as far as Mountain West Conference Football Media Days?
Just excitement to talk to these players, the excitement in hearing how excited they are, because again, it's July, everybody's 0-0. They're working towards a goal, Mountain West Conference title, a bowl game. There's a lot of bowl games that teams can go to. So I'm looking forward to that, just to hear their enthusiasm about their program. You mentioned a defensive lineman for Boise State, an Egyptian that's only played, 5 years, and he might be a number 1 draft pick. Looking forward to talking to him. And again, that's a lot to learn in 5 years, the football fundamentals. And for him to maybe be a number 1 draft pick, that says a lot. So there's a lot. When I read that magazine and all the previews, the spread and shed offense that someone runs. Okay, was it
San Jose State?
San Jose State. Barry Odom. What do they call it? The run and gun?
UNLV, yeah.
They
run and shoot. So they put up 33 points a game last year. There's a lot to look at tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to, again, just listening to these young players and hear their enthusiasm for their teams. No, I'm looking forward to that too. I happen to I don't know if there's any truth to this. So this is allegedly Juan Baez, Javier Baeza. No. Go-Go offense. I'm sorry. That's
Go-Go,
right. It is
yeah.
the Go-Go offense. A lot of fun to watch last year. UNM are 4.5-point dogs to Montana State. I'm going to have to find that. I know they're 30-point dogs to U of A over Labor Day weekend on August 31st. Man, that's pretty earth-shaking. I'm going to try to confirm that because that kind of blows my mind. Sean Ryder shared it on Twitter today. I did not see that. Holy shit. That they are 4.5-point underdogs to Montana State. Ed, I'll ask you that. I wish Rick was here. When you hear that an FCS team is an underdog, when UNM is an underdog to an FCS team in the first game of the year.
You mentioned Montana State's picked to win the Big Sky. New Mexico was picked to finish last and win 1.5 games. Are we that surprised? So again, when we talk to Coach Mendenhall, he's you think he thinks that? I don't think he thinks that. So I don't think he's worried, about who's a dog and who's not. He mentioned this on Sean Ryder's podcast. He wants to see how they execute, how they respond. He thinks he's got a good group of players. So I think he's excited about his running back room. I'm interested to see about the wide receiver position. How's that going to fare out? But I think I'm not that surprised. You mentioned Montana State is a pretty good FCS team. New Mexico traditionally, in the past couple of years, no matter what anyone says, has not been a good football team. They have not been. Now, we hope that changes. I think it will. I mentioned the Mendenhall effect. I keep mentioning it, and I think we're going to see it. And as I mentioned, one parent of the Lobo football player is very impressed about what he's seen so far with Coach Mendenhall. And this guy, his kid, has been around football, and he's been around football. So, it matters when you get in between the lines. We can talk about all we want about what he might do, but I'm anxious to see what it is.
Yeah, I saw it on Sean Ryder's Twitter. I don't know how I missed that. Then again, traveling today, and I don't personally get on Twitter as much on my phone as I normally do. We kind of operate our Twitter a different way. I do go there for some news. I'm constantly on CBSSports.com, and I do go to ESPN. Yeah, Rudy, these are cliche things. We know this. It's like a fallacy, I guess. I am fine with everyone else disrespecting UNM, no one but the team, and people know UNM will shock people. Disrespect is the card UNM has in the hand, and we will play. If you've listened to the show, Rudy, I'm sure we have mentioned how much I really respected Danny. I really like Danny Gonzalez. I wanted to see him succeed. He was one of us, Google gobble, Google gobble. Valley Kid. All the things. I don't have to mention them. We wanted to see him succeed. But again, when you lead the country in penalties, and I go, no, that's history. That's what it is. Juan, if I'm butchering your last name, I'm sorry. Baeza. Baeza. They'll definitely be in dogs in every game. I love it. If you have enough time before we decide to go get something to eat here in Vegas, I'm wondering why. Because I have bet against the Lobos and they have won me a lot of money because I didn't trust them. And then again, NMSU was very good to me last year.
Again, one more comment. I hate to keep going back to that. It's cliches because the season hasn't started. I don't know what else to say, man. Where everyone's watching, everyone's expecting a change. I don't think anyone's saying that they're not going to be better. Now, are you going to go out on a limb? Danny Gonzalez did last year. He guaranteed a bowl game. Didn't happen. I wanted it to happen. So, they came up short. Now, are you ready to go out on a limb and say, now, Kurt Ross said he thought 5 wins, maybe on the cusp of a bowl. He thought that. So when he said that, you had to kind of, say, hey, wait a minute, Kurt is a pretty credible guy. Do we want that to happen? Of course we do. But no one's, there's cliches and there's cliches, but the season hasn't started yet. So I'd suggest let's just wait and see what happens when the season does start.
Here is the Lobo schedule again. August 24th, week 0. They host Montana State. Labor Day weekend, August 31st, they're at U of A. They head to Auburn. And I just like how everybody, I think, thinks because New Mexico State beat Auburn, UNM is going to go in there and beat Auburn because it's like eerily similar. They host Fresno State, then they head down to New Mexico. Rounding out October, Air Force, Utah State, Colorado State. Utah State's an interesting situation right now. Well, not interesting, kind of sad and fascinating. November, they host Wyoming, go to San Diego State, get one of the Tupacs with Washington State, and then Hawaii. Again, Kurt Roth changed my optimism when he said that he thinks they can win 5 or 6 games. I look at that. If I think the one game that they have to win this year is in Cruces. I think 3 straight. We'd have to look at the win was the last time they lost back-to-back, and then maybe 3 straight to NMSU. But I look at that schedule and man, it's rough to me. And Colorado State's supposed to be better. They've got some NFL talent on that team.
Okay, now you mentioned
quarterback.
New Mexico State. Jared Keel's not there anymore. Jared Keel changed. Here's the thing. Now, for all naysayers and people saying we're negative, okay, here's something for that. Now, Jerry Keel changed the culture at New Mexico State. I think we're fully expecting Bronco Mendenhall to do the same here. So let me put that out there. So anybody thinks that we're not being pro New Mexico, pro Bronco Mendenhall, he's got a proven track record, and I've stated that over and over. So that it's about changing the culture. You mentioned the fans have not been there. Do more wins translate into more fans coming out to the stadium? I sure hope so. But we all hope that. So, yeah, I think some of those games, though, Kurt Roth, we have to see how the other teams in the conference are. We have to see. And one of the readers or the commenters said they'll be dogs in every game, and they will be. And Rudy said that. Rudy said they're going to be underdogs and wear that as a badge of honor and prove people wrong. And we're hoping that happens. So I don't know how many more times I have to say that. So I'm that's what we're all hoping for.
I think we're going to get out of here. We have a busy day tomorrow. We appreciate everybody joining us. We appreciate Brandon Mason. Again, we do appreciate all the comments because without you guys watching, we would probably be nothing. So we appreciate it. And our new listener, Tommy Gunn, not to be confused with the adult film star, but the
Tommy Morrison and Rocky
Five. I didn't hear no bell. Ed, it's been a pleasure, man. I'm glad we're here. We'll be here live tomorrow night too, as well, from Stadium Swim at Circa Hotel and Casino. This is a lot of fun. Yes, it's hot as shit, but it's well worth it. I'm starting to get tired and hungry, so I'm losing my energy. But to everybody joining in, much appreciated. Tomorrow is day 1 of Mountain West Conference Media Days. We will be talking to all the players. Day 1 is the players, 2 players from each team, all 12 schools. Again, I'm very excited to talk to Torrey Horton, Ricky White III. We have our time with Luke Wysong. and the UNM players. So looking forward to that. And I don't think I'm missing anything. But again, special thanks to Turquoise Desert Tap Room. Really appreciated them. And our other sponsors, Abrazo Homes, Hydro Bar, Affordable Solar. Really happy to be here. I'm looking to cool down. We have run out of water here too. Again, hit us up. You can hit us up on the mailbag. Shoot us an email at thepitpressnm@gmail.com. We'd appreciate it. We've had a few people chime in. But again, I always appreciate the comments. Follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter, at the Pit Press NM. Follow us on Instagram at the Pit Press NM. And again, I'm trying to write more as the football season, as we steam towards that, thepitpressnm.com. And I'm also looking forward to, we're 9 days away from the return of EA's NCAA college football. Everybody have a great night. We will talk to you tomorrow from fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. Everybody be safe. Have a great rest of your night. Ed, it was a pleasure.
No, it was a lot of fun. And again, thanks for all the comments. Sometimes we're not always going to agree, but we sure appreciate the support.
No, we do. Everybody have a good one.